Gethsemane yard, Christ on his knees, praying so hard that his sweat's like bleeding, praying to his Father, one final plea, saying, let this cup pass from me. God sent an angel to strengthen Jesus. He rose to his feet. For the third time, found his disciples all asleep. I asked you to watch 1 hour. You couldn't do this? Just then up walks his friend Judas, one of Christ's disciples, now turned foolish. Took 30 silver pieces from the Jewish priest to sell Jesus out. Then the troops were sent, that time was now, in the night's reclusiveness. Judas walks up and with one crude kiss gave Christ away, but Christ already knew this. He had to let it happen. It was all in the blueprint. Chief priests and elders gave the orders, move in. Peter was like, no. Took out his knife though, cut a soldier ear off and said, let Christ go. Christ healed the ear, then addressed the crowd, said, I was with you all day. Why arrest me now? They took him to the house of Caiaphas, the high priest then, had a small fixed trial, then began to beat him. The disciples fled. Peter stayed to see him, but 3 times denied Christ, like Christ prophesied. Next day at sunrise, all the elders decide to kill Christ because he claims to be the Messiah. Judas felt so guilty, he tried to return the bribe. They wouldn't take it back. Judas takes his own life. Now back to Christ's trial. They convicted him, took him to Pilate to govern up a crucifixion. Because back then, only Romans did sentencing. But Pilate couldn't find a crime to charge him with. Maybe King Herod can. Send Christ to him. Herod mocked him, but did not charge him. Send him back to the Jews. I find nothing wrong with them. If this innocent man dies, that's between y'all and him. So the Jews took him back to Pilate. Said, if you don't convict Christ, we're starting a riot. And if there's another riot in your jurisdiction, you know Caesar will strip you of your position. So Pilate said, look, I won't send him to death, but how about I punish him to send a proper message? They beat Christ till he almost died. And when it ended, they still weren't satisfied. Listen. Now Pilate felt pressured, but he kept trying. Said, every year we pardon one criminal from dying. Let us pardon Jesus. The crowd says no. They said, kill Jesus and let Barabbas go. Pilate washes his hands and finally gives in, gives the okay for Christ's crucifixion. The soldiers whipped him, put a crown of thorns on him, beat him in the head till the tips of the thorns went in. Hail, King of the Jews, they laughed as they tortured him, put a cross on his back and forced him to march with it. The cross got so heavy he couldn't bear it. The soldiers grabbed Simon Pacifier, said, help carry this up to the tip of Golgotha. Simon, Jesus marched with no stopping, followed by a crowd of women who kept sobbing. Christ to be crucified with 2 robbers. Above his head they wrote what the charge was. King of the Jews, that was all they can charge him with. One robber said, you did nothing wrong for this. Let me enter your kingdom, Jesus honored his request. But down below they kept cheering. One gave him a drink because he looked so weary. He spoke these words as his mom watched tearfully. Lord, why hast thou forsaken me? Not because he didn't think God would come through. It was fulfilled prophecy from Psalms 22. The sky got dark. The earth began to move. The curtains to the holy temple was ripped in two. He spoke these words and it's now the intro. Father, I commit my spirit to you. He hung his head and died. They pierced him in his side. Out came water and blood, an outward show of his love. One soldier was touched and spoke these words from his tongue. Truly, this must have been God's son. They laid him in a new tomb, wrapped him in linen cloth, sealed him with the great stone while 2 guards stood watch. And they watched till 2 angels appeared. The soldiers turned and ran scared. The angels rolled the stone away. And Jesus was rose from the grave. 3 days later, early in the morning, Mary Magdalene went to pay her honors. Her and others found the tomb empty, stone rolled away, grave clothes still laid in place. Then the angels appeared to the women, said, why do you look among the dead for the living? Go and tell Peter and all that stand with him, just as Christ said he would. He's risen.